Hi, I'm here with Mary O'Connor, the mayor of Monona. Thank you so much for doing this again.
You're welcome. I'm happy to help.
I very much appreciate it. So I'll just dive in right now. I guess to catch you off base a little bit, if you want to maybe just give us a brief overview for those of us that aren't in politics, maybe what some of the duties are for the mayor, that just for people that are just oblivious.
Okay. Well, I'm probably still learning some of the duties. The mayor is the chief executive of the city. We also have a city administrator who reports to the mayor, and she handles the day-to-day actual running of the city. So the mayor kind of sets the policy or her priorities, and then she carries them out, and she manages the city staff. We have 10 different department heads.
Oh, okay.
One of the biggest things the mayor does is develop a budget, and actually there's two budgets. There's the capital budget, which is the budget we have that determines what we're going to borrow for the next year. So that can include things like borrowing for road projects and building improvements, police cars, things like that. In recent years, it's run between $3 and $4 million a year. And then the other budget is the operating budget, which is actually the budget that takes care of all salaries for the city. That's a big chunk of it. But there's also supplies and heating the buildings and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And it also includes paying off some of what we borrowed in the capital budget. So altogether, it's been averaging, I'd say, about 11 million, between 10 and 11 million in the last few years. But of that, 3 to 4 million has been paying off debt that was incurred earlier.
Wow.
So.
Okay. Wow.
And then the mayor also runs all the city council meetings, sets the agenda for the most part for the council meetings, and serves, gets involved in economic development, meeting with people interested in doing new developments within the city or bringing new business in and that type of thing.
Sure.
So those are probably the primary.
Yeah. A whole lot of
duties.
Important things.
Yes.
Okay, so just to start off, what made you decide to get into politics?
Well, I have been very interested in politics and government since I was about 9.
Oh,
I know
wow.
that's kind of nerdy, but
No.
I've just always been interested in political campaigns and reading stories about. It's much more interesting than any fiction you could come up with in a lot of cases. I was a history major, so I did a lot of reading about it then. So that's how I first got interested. And then I guess in terms of Monona in particular, I've served on different boards and volunteer groups in Monona, but probably the one that got me most involved in city politics was when I was president of the library board for 6 or 7 years. And as being president of the library board, I learned a lot about how the city operates. We had to come up with a budget and all that kind of thing to submit to the mayor so the council could vote on it. And so that's what got me interested in being involved in city government.
Okay.
I'd say.
Okay. And then I guess what made you decide to become the mayor of Monona or the leader of Monona?
Well, or at least to run for the mayor.
Yeah, right, true.
Back in 2012, I decided to run for the city council. People had asked me over the years, and I'd thought about it, but I still had kids in school, and I just didn't, and I was working and just didn't have the time. But then my youngest had graduated, and so I decided to run in 2012, and I won a seat on the council, and I served on the council for 5 years. And then this past winter, Bob Miller announced that he was not running for a 4th term as mayor. And people approached me about running, and at first I kind of poo-pooed it, and then the more I thought about it, I thought I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of leadership experience from the various groups I've been involved in, and I had learned a lot while I was on the council, so I decided to toss my hat in the ring, and I was elected in April.
Yeah,
so
that's exciting.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you first started?
It was very busy.
I bet, yeah.
The council knows a lot about what's going on in the city, but not nearly in the level of detail that the mayor gets involved in. So there was a lot of, getting myself up to speed on exactly what was going on. I knew the city staff, but I wanted to get to know them better. Yeah. When you're on the council, you're assigned to chair various committees, so you get to, and a city staff person staffs each of those committees. So you get to know them pretty well, but the others committees I hadn't been on, I didn't know them as well. So I decided early on to take each of the department heads out to lunch, and just in an effort to get to know them better and learn, about what they thought was going well in their departments and any problems they saw coming up or things we needed to be thinking about. And that was really very educational for me, and I hope it was for them too. I'm really happy I did it, and I check back in with them fairly frequently to make sure we're all on the same page. As I told you earlier, the mayor doesn't have an office at City Hall. We don't have room for one, but I'm over there a lot, so I try to make a point of stopping in to see them a lot, or sometimes I'm meeting with them anyway. So so that's kind of what happened. Just getting up to speed, and then we jumped right into the budget season. So
okay. Do you have something that has surprised you the most while working in your role?
I think the thing that surprised me the most is how quickly my calendar fills up. A week out, I can see, like next week, maybe I have 2 days with 1 or 2 things, and it's pretty clear. And then by the end of this week, every day we'll have 2 or 3 different things on the calendar. It really, a lot of last minute things, and so that's probably been the biggest surprise. I knew there would be a lot of meetings and things, but it's kind of amazing how quickly it happens.
Sure, that makes sense. Do you have any advice that you would be able to give any aspiring leaders or other people interested in things like that you're doing?
I think talk to people and, hear what they have to say about if you're thinking of running for a specific office. You should talk to other people in the community, get to know who else is involved in various city organizations and in the government, and see what they have to say, and be willing to listen to people. Don't just assume that you know where they're coming from, and I guess the other thing is always be sure you have the full story, because there's always another angle to think about that you might not know about. And if you are elected, if people come to you with a problem or an issue they're concerned about, if there's something you can do about it, then try to do that. Try to follow up if you can. It isn't always possible.
Right, sure.
You should make the attempt anyway.
Good advice. Very good advice. Who are some of your political idols or role models?
I guess there's several women that I look up to, or I see as, I don't know if I'd call them idols, but I would see certainly as role models: Eleanor Roosevelt, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Hillary Clinton, I say Tammy Baldwin, Kathy Thomas, our former alder woman. I think they've all been in situations where they were the first woman to do something, and they've really taken the ball and run with it. And you may or may not agree with them, but I really admire them for putting themselves out there and taking the chance to make a difference.
Definitely. So. Yes, definitely. So what are your goals as a community leader?
Well, probably the same goals I had when I ran for mayor. There are a couple specific things. Number one, we've got this riverfront project, and I really want to get that up and running and see it be successful. Monona has our city facilities. A couple of them really need some refurbishing or maybe even replacing. Most of our city facilities were built in the 60s, and that's been they're 50 years old now, and a lot of them have had a lot of use. The public safety part of City Hall in particular, we need more space. We can barely get the fire trucks in the doors of the garage. There's just a lot needs to be done there. And then the community center is really getting kind of tired looking, and I think that needs some updating. It could use some expanding. Both the senior center and the park and rec programs could definitely use more room. So I want to look at that. I guess the other things are I just want to continue to provide the city services that we've been able to provide that are what draw people to Monona, really.
Yes, totally.
Park and rec, the senior center, the library. We've got a lot of invested in those, and I want to keep them.
Yeah, totally understandable. Yeah, great goals for Monona. That's exciting.
It's all in an attempt to make people want to live there and happy living there.
Who wouldn't want to? Yes, definitely. So here's a big question. What are your biggest challenges that you're facing right now?
I'd say the biggest has been the riverfront.
Sure.
There's just a lot of moving pieces there.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's just, well, because Monona is surrounded by Madison, we don't have big empty farm fields that we can just develop new buildings and shopping centers on and things. Everything we do in terms of community development is redevelopment.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you might be dealing with a brownfield site. We've got a little bit of that there. There used to be a dry cleaner, and anytime you've got a dry cleaner, lots of times you have problems with chemicals and things that were thrown out on the ground or leached into the ground 50 years ago, and you need to clean that up, and a lot of that kind of thing. And the city, over the course of several years, has purchased the buildings, but it took a while for all that to fall into place. But I think we're starting. We're going to be hoping to start construction there at the beginning of March, and right now we're demolishing most of the buildings that are on the site. So
it's very exciting if you drive by.
It is. Even the past month or so, things have really changed. So that's my biggest challenge, I think, is there've been a lot of meetings about that and getting that up and going. And then coming up, I had 2 different items in the capital budget that I got funding for. So I'm going to be working on appointing ad hoc committees to deal with the bike pedestrian plan. We've got a lot of concerns about bike and pedestrian safety in Monona, and more people want to get out and walk and bike, and we need to make that more accessible for people. So they're going to be looking at that, coming up with a plan for that. And then the other is a funding for a long-range facilities planning process, and so I'm going to be appointing a committee for that, and I'd like them to take a look at what the issues are and establish a timeline for what we do going forward when we do it, and how we pay for it. That's the biggest, probably the biggest question, but we need to do something. But we need at least to talk about it and get the process started.
Yeah. I'm exhausted. Okay, so what's something that most people don't know about you?
I guess probably I don't know if a lot of people know how much I love to read. Okay. I was an insatiable reader as a kid. My parents had a hard time getting me to go outside at times, and I love to read. That's my probably main hobby, and I don't have enough time for it these days. But I even became a librarian, so I suppose I kind of led from that. But both fiction and nonfiction and newspapers, and so that's probably one thing a lot of people don't know.
Great. So was there a memorable or most memorable experience you've had since you've been in your position?
Well, since I've been mayor, probably since I'd say more since I've been on the council, because I've only been mayor for 6 or 7 months. But I guess since I was on the city council, I was initially appointed to the community media committee, which at that time was the cable commission, mainly dealing with the cable TV station we have in Monona. And my first meeting, some of the members told me they were all excited about this plan they had to start a low-power FM radio station. And after I'd been on the committee for about a year, we got the license from the FCC, and it all developed into WVMO, the Voice of Monona. And I chaired that commission, or the committee, the whole time I was on the council, and it's been very exciting to see that dream come to fruition. And we had just a lot of amazing people involved who just came forward and volunteered their time, and I played only a small part in it, but it's really been exciting to see what developed.
What a cool thing.
Yeah,
it's such a cool thing.
Very, very popular. It's just amazing. I think we have over 10,000 weekly listeners now, and we only have a radius of like 3 or 4 miles, so it's been quite an experience.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What a neat community thing.
It is.
It's pretty neat.
It's really fun. And I guess one other thing, this was before I was actually on the council, but when I was president of the library board, we did the whole building expansion and renovation of the library. I don't know if you know what it looked like before, but it was a $3.5 million project, and that was an amazing experience. Also, it involved a lot of meetings and a referendum campaign and all kinds of stuff. But it was really neat to see that come to fruition, and the Monona Library is so heavily used.
I remember back. Great. I mean, I went to Winnetka when it was a middle school, so
I
remember it way back then. So it looked very different.
It certainly did.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you love most about Monona, or any of favorite things that you do in the community?
I think one of the things I love the most is how we have the benefits of a large city, but also the benefits of a small city. So it's in living in Monona. One thing I've really enjoyed is the opportunity to get involved in the community, and you can really make a difference. I think whereas in a larger community, you might not have that opportunity. And it's also a great way to meet people. I've met a lot of really wonderful people through my volunteer experience there. Favorite things I like to do, get together with friends and neighbors. We've got a great neighborhood. We've been there for 30 years, and we all raised our kids together. And there's several neighborhoods like that in Monona that are really fun. And now the kids are all gone, but we still go to everybody's kid's wedding and get together periodically. And so that's been really fun. And try out some of the new restaurants we have in Monona. That's always fun. And visit the parks and the library. And
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting community because it's very much Madison, but very not Madison. It's
Exactly.
very Monona. So you do get the benefits of both.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Why do you think it's important for people to shop local?
Well, I think, number one, successful local businesses help build our tax base, and that's what all of our development is about, and all of our planning department. I mean, we're trying to build the tax base so that we can continue to afford to provide the city services that we do, and that's what makes people come to Monona. And I also think people are attracted by local business, so we want to offer them a variety of local businesses that they can shop at while they're in Monona. So I think it's really important that local business be successful, and we try to help them in any way we can. We try to expedite building permit approvals and things like that, and if there's any issues, we ask businesses to come to us and see if we can work out a solution. So we're very much into encouraging local business.
I think the community is great too, to support local, shop local and that kind of whole mindset too. So.
And we have this whole thing of people wanting to be able to walk to local businesses and that kind of thing. That's getting to be a more and more a goal for people when they move here, and so that's part of the reason we're doing the bike pedestrian committee, to make that easier to happen. So
very neat, very neat. Okay, well, last question is, what do you want to see improve the most in Monona, if anything? It's perfect the way it is.
Right. I guess the thing I'd like to see improve the most are these city buildings. Really, I think it would just be make it a much greater experience for the community if we had some better facilities for them. We've got a lot of great facilities now, but we could do so much more at the community center and the senior center if we had more space and more up-to-date facilities. And the same thing with police and fire. They're kind of the crucial part of city government, and so we want to make sure that they've got what they need to do their job.
Yeah, you want to take care of them.
Yes, that's for sure, because they take care of us.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mary. I learned a lot. I hope you guys too.
Well, you're welcome.
Too, and thank you so much. So we'll see you guys next time.